need to get Mr. Jimmy Burgess up here and have him kick this thing off with the powerful information that he has.
Thank you. Thank you. Is my mic on now? Can y'all hear me in the back? All right, great. All right. So first off, I love me some Vince Lisi. I'll be honest. This is one of those events that the first time that I came to this, it gave me an opportunity really to get to know a lot more people in the network, to understand the depth of the amount of talent that we have in the network, and also, just so y'all know, Vince and Shannon can throw a party, y'all. Tonight is going to be a lot of fun, so be prepared for that. And what I'm going to do today is really, I'm going to kind of go through a couple of things here and really just go through, let me get my slides pulled up. If we can get that, there it is. We can get that pulled up if you don't mind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and talk to you about how to have your best year ever. I don't know if he's around the corner. If you can set this up on this slide deck, Mr. IT man. Yeah, here it comes. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you about how you can take full advantage of this next couple of days and literally set up the rest of your year to have your best year ever. Some of the things that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about specific strategies. You're going to hear some of those things. I like to get super practical. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go through and we're going to talk about not just the story that I'm going to tell, but how you can implement these each in every one of those situations that you're in. Let me just, I don't know if this is going to queue up or not. Here we go. Gotta love technology. You know what somebody told me one time? They said they were watching me and they said, hey, what are you? I see you doing all this technology stuff. What are you, the high-tech redneck? I said, wait a minute. I don't know if I appreciate that, but I'll take it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how to have your best year ever. Because listen, guys, for me, there is a change that's happened in the market, but ultimately what it comes down to is what are we going to do that when we get to the end of this year and we get to the end of next year where we're better off as realtors, as business owners, as husbands, as wives, as parents, and also as people as a general rule. So what I want to do is I want to tell you all a quick story, a couple things. It's wild how unexpected experiences can shape your life. We have talked about this. Some of us have talked about this. I know Heidi and I have talked about the fact that she gets, Heidi, where is Heidi? Is Heidi back in the, she's getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 10 referrals from this conference still every year after year from the people that she's met here. So this is one of those opportunities this next couple of days to really lean in and see what it is. Let me tell y'all why I have so much passion for this business. I've been in this business 29 years. Listen, well over half my life. And I got to tell you this, I've ridden the highs and I've ridden the lows. But what I've found is that this business has given me more opportunities. It's given my family more opportunities than I could have ever imagined. There is no way that I can give back to this business as much as it's given to me. So what I want to do is, and listen, we've all got our whys, right? Let me just show y'all this. This is my why. This is my wife, Tasha. Now, yeah, Andrew. Andrew, let me just say this. Andrew's like, wow. First time I met, wow, Jimmy, I didn't know. So listen, here's the thing is, if I ever have to go back into sales and I have to go to an interview, I'm going to bring one thing. I'm going to bring this and I'm going to say, hey, listen, if I can sell this to that, you need to hire me. Here's the thing is, we've been married 27 years. Now, you got to understand why that's so important. Between my two parents, it took them 6 marriages to be married 27 years total. So we're breaking some stuff around here, you know what I mean? So a couple years ago, we decided it was our 25th wedding anniversary. We were going to go and we were going to actually go out to the West Coast and we were going to have some time for just the two of us. We have 3 kids. From the time we got married, it was like we got married and about a month in, I was like, you want to? And we had kids. And now here we are. We've had kids basically our entire marriage, and so we decided we were going to take this trip. We had not taken a trip with just the two of us for this extended amount of time for a long time. Well needed. Listen, I based on where we were going to have dinner on the fact of whether they served chicken fingers or not. And here's the reason why. I didn't want them serving chicken fingers. Because we didn't have any kids, we didn't need that. We're not going to order by number. We're going to order some good food. And so we got to spend some time out on the West Coast. We started out actually in San Francisco. Loved the city. It was the first time I'd ever been there. We went out to Half Moon Bay. Gorgeous along the California coast. Then we went up to Napa Valley. Now, while we were in Napa Valley, we decided that we were going to do this electric bike tour. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, because this was a tour that was going to go through all the wineries and show us around and teach us a few things about the wineries. Now, I don't know if y'all know this, but you can't get a DUI on a bike. It's a good thing. So we enjoyed ourselves on that. So we're in Napa, in the city of Napa. We get these bikes. We got this tour guide that's going to take us around. She begins and takes us off of the main street, goes through this little neighborhood, and then we go around this little cul-de-sac, and we go down this little gravel road, and all of a sudden, we are absolutely in the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen in my life. We're in this vineyard in Napa Valley. And literally, it's like we're literally like riding this bike in what looks like a painting. We've got both the mountains on both sides. We're in the valley. We're in this vineyard. We can see the volcano area, the mountain at the end of the range. That's just where everything began. And she's telling us the story, and she pulls over to the side of this vineyard. She says, "Now let me give you a little history on this." And actually, and she began to do this. You know, my wife knows me, so as she begins to tell us this history and the things that it takes to make great wine, I'm like, "Ooh, this will preach right here." I called Andrew, and I said, "Andrew, let me tell you what this lady told us and how this can apply." And he said, "Oh, you got to tell that." So if y'all don't like this, it's on Andrew, okay? So but what we did is as we're sitting there, she pulls off and she pulls in there and she says, "Listen, here's the understanding of what makes great wine." And what I found is that this is a very, very good analogy of what it takes to build a great business and also what it takes to build a great life. And over the next couple of days, we're going to have some opportunities really to shape what's going to happen and change the trajectory of not just your business, but your life. And so this is what this lady started with. She said, "Listen, everything starts with wine, with good soil." You have to understand, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the reason why Napa has so much of an opportunity to grow such great wine is the fact that hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there was a volcano that erupted, and it flooded down through. As a matter of fact, let me just show you this. It flooded down through the valley. Now, there are only about 12 different types of soils in the world. 10 of them are actually in Napa Valley. This is why, if you go to one little side there where the sun hits it and there's a certain temperature, there's a certain type of soil, and that's why it makes such great Chardonnay wines. Then you go to the other side, and the sun hits it a little differently. It's a little different temperature. It's a different soil, and it makes amazing Cabernet grapes. So you have to understand that great soil is a part of what happens here and what's going on with this. As she's telling that, she begins to tell us a couple of different things. She says, we can all produce good fruits in fertile soil. So here's the question. What is the soil that you're in? What is it that you're doing to make sure that the soil you are in is fertile, is ready for growth? Being here today, there's this song in the musical Hamilton, where it says, "In the room where it happens." Y'all know what I'm talking about? Y'all remember that song? This is the room where it happens. This is the room. This is the place, the next couple of days, where it can happen for you. Pay attention to that. So here's a couple practical things that we can do on the soil side. Become a student of the game. Become the person that knows your market better than anybody else. The person with the most knowledgeable that shares that in a way that adds value to people, I promise, is going to be your top producer in your area over the coming years. Also, build more and deeper relationships. Literally, as we go through all of this, this is a time for you to build some of these relationships over the next couple of days. Don't just stay with your group. Go out and introduce yourself to new people. Become and build those deeper relationships. Also, express your gratitude to clients and also to your sphere of influence. For me, literally, you get back what you give. So what is it you're doing? Are you doing some thank you notes? Are you doing unexpected gifts for those past clients, some of those folks? Are you doing client appreciation events? We're going to hear more about some of these things in the coming days. And then also, have your listing presentation on lock. You're going to get opportunities. This is the best of the best in this room. So consequently, you're going to get opportunities. What are you going to do that you can make sure that you take full advantage of those opportunities? Having your listing presentation absolutely on lock, that you know that if I can just get in that room, if I can show them what I do, how I do it differently, as we say in this house, it's going to be like Chick-fil-A on Sunday. Closed. We're going to close those things, right? Have that listing presentation on lock. Also, utilize video at a higher level. I know everybody's, there's very few people in this room that are not utilizing video. Okay, now some of you are like, well, I don't. Well, here's your time, because here's the value of video. It literally acts like a filter that gives you the opportunity to build a relationship with people before you even meet them. I've had some of you that I've met here, and literally, it's like you feel like you know me because you've seen those videos. Here's what happens with video. It acts as a filter where the people you're not supposed to work with understand that you're not their people, and it also gives you the opportunity that people are like, that's my girl. That's who I'm supposed to work with. That's my guy. That's the one I'm going to work with. Utilize video in a way. Here's the thing that video does also, and those that are doing it at a high level here can attest to this. I want to tell you, this is not something that I think. This is something I know. I'm not doing anything different than I've done my entire career. But the difference is that we started capturing these things on video, and people began to see it, and it began to widen that audience. You have to understand, too, though, understand that it's a process. With video, I started out, and I told Vince this. It took me 84 videos and 14 months to get the first 100 subscribers on YouTube. Now, let me just say this. That first 84 are going to suck no matter who you are, right? Those videos are not going to be great. But here's the thing is I knew that I knew because I was giving people what I wish somebody had given me. And I stayed the course. And now we're seeing that thing continue to grow, and we're adding 500 or 600 a month on there. But here's the thing. Think of it from your business standpoint. it compounds over time. I was talking to an agent that has been doing video for 2 years now, has built his business, and what he told me is, he said, Jimmy, I didn't realize this now. I don't make any outbound calls. They're all coming to me from YouTube. And what he said is that actually what happens now is that for every second in real time that's happening right now, 8 seconds of videos are being watched of his. When he goes to sleep, he's marketing 8 times the speed of time. Think about the value. This is the value of video. So make sure you're utilizing video at the highest level, and then just market your face off. Listen, people are only going to do business with you if they know who you are. So what are you going to do to make sure that you are marketing yourself in a way that shows your professionalism, adds value, and gives them the opportunity? So it all starts with preparing the soil. And then she told us this story of this thing called phylloxera. Well, that's horrible, my accent. That was a hard one. Phylloxera. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But let me tell y'all what this is. See? There we go. So here's what happened. Hundreds of years ago, you have to understand that when they started growing grapes there in the Napa Valley, they came in and they had these native vines that were there. These were the North American vines. And they grew grapes really well. The problem was they were not the quality of grapes to make the quality of wine that they were making in Europe. So they began to bring the vines in from over in Europe, and they began to plant them. And what they found was that those vines that came from Europe, they made amazing wine. But here's the problem is, about 5 to 6 years, 7 years in, they had a time where they had this phylloxera, which is a mite that comes in and basically attacks the root system of these vines. And they don't even realize what's happening, and by the time they realize it, the vines were dead because they'd been eaten from the root system. And so all of a sudden they realize, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now? We've got these vines that are native that do grow grapes, that will grow, because a typical vineyard should produce over 50 years worth of grapes. And we can do that, but it's not going to make the best wine. Or we can sacrifice and we can bring these European vines in. They're going to produce better grapes, better wine, but we're only going to be able to do this for a few years. What do we do to make sure that we can do this? And as they began to look at this, they began to understand that there was nothing they could do separately to do this. But you see, what happened is those native vines, they actually had this where they could have the root system could withstand this. So what they did is they came in and they began to take the root system, grow it up to about 6 to 8 inches off the ground, and then what they would do is they would actually graft in that plant that was producing the better grapes. If you look at these, every single vine that you see in Napa Valley, at the base of this, it has this knot. And that's where they took the root system, the strength and the durability of the native plants, and they grafted those to that other plant. So here's the question. Who are you grafted to? By yourself, you can absolutely not be all that you can be by being grafted to the right people. When I began to look back, if you're going to have success, you're going to have somebody that you're tied to. Who is it that you're tied to? Who are the people that you're surrounding yourself with that absolutely give you durability, or they give you the ability to do more than you could do by yourself? This is the power of what they were doing. Now listen, when she started talking all this, I was like, ooh, wait a minute, we got something here. This is what I can apply to my life as well. First, it starts with the good soil. Then it starts with who you're grafted to. So here's a couple practical steps on who you should be grafting to. Join a mastermind group. Vince runs, 12 to 14 of these every month. I run them in our office. We have one on Friday. There's a few of our people that are here that are in that group. That's one of the most powerful hours every week where we share what's going on. We share the struggles. We share our strengths. We understand what's happening with each other. Also, I think there's some people in here also that are in the one that I do for the brand. We do one for the brand on a monthly basis for Chairman Club members that I lead. And it's one of the most powerful times the whole month because I get to hear from everybody around the country. Let me say this. If you don't have a mastermind group in your area, find one. Create one. We didn't have one. I created it. Make sure that you're at a place where you're doing that. If you want to know how to do that, reach out to me. Reach out to Vince. Reach out to us, and we'll be glad to do that. Also, find a mentor or coach. Listen, Sherry's one of the best in the country. She's available. Utilize her to get the opportunity for you to grow your business. For me, every single time that I hired a coach, not only did I just hire them, it was not an expense. It was an investment that yielded amazing results going forward. So if you're wondering who you should be grafted into, those are some good places to start. Also, surround yourself with the best people possible. Who is it that you need to surround yourself with that when you're with them, they get you excited. They get you excited about life. They get you excited about your business. And then we came to this point where she said, okay, well, look, we've talked about the fact that you need to be grafted. We talked about the soil. You'll notice we were there at the time where there were these vines starting. And then on the vines, you could see little clusters of these grapes, almost the size of a BB. You could begin to see where the fruit was going to be. She said, you'll notice these people are out here picking this because the vineyard is actually it's really too fragile to have a machine do this. So what these folks are doing is they're going in because now we can see which of these new little sprouts that are coming off, which of these are going to be the ones that are going to have these clusters of grapes? And she said, when they notice that, they'll keep those, but then they'll see there's some of these that come in that they just have these little sprouts, but they don't have any fruit coming off of them. And they pinch those to make sure that all of that comes to, all the nutrients go to the fruit-bearing parts of the plant. Now, I grew up in the country. We had tomato plants in the South. I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all do. Tomato plants, what we used to do is they would have these things, and we would have to go out every 2 to 3 days out into the little garden in the backyard, and we would go to the tomato plants, and we could see these little yellow flowers. That was on the new little sprout there, and that was where we knew that a tomato was going to come from that yellow flower. And then we had these other little things that would come up that were not going to bear any fruit, and we'd pinch those off. Guess what we called them? Suckers. Now, here's the question, guys. The suckers in your life. We all got them. We've all got them. Who are the people that are in your life that are adding no value, bearing no fruit in your life, yet they're sucking the nutrients that you need? Think about who that is. Listen, when I say that, if I say, hey, who is that person that if you spend time with them, they're going to be very difficult? You just thought of. You got to get them out of your life. Now, wait just a second now. Let me rephrase that. If that's your spouse, you're grafted to them. You're grafted. You can't just pull them away. You got to work on some stuff here. But listen, there are people that we choose to allow to have time with us. There are people that are sucking the very life out of our business, out of our relationships, and everything we do. Who is it in your life that are those suckers? You have to remove them from your life, and here's a couple practical ways to do this, okay? Because it's not just one thing to know who they are, because every one of y'all just thought of 2 or 3 people. It's making sure that you remove them or that you limit that time. The first thing is start with identifying. You already know who it is. But think about who it is and think about those folks. Imagine taking that out of your life right now and having the opportunity to have new growth. Because here's what happens is when you remove them, all of a sudden all the nutrients start coming to the fruit portion of your life, and that begins to bear more fruit. It's just a natural part of life. Also, just say no. If you've got those folks and they're like, hey, you want to go get lunch today? And you know it's just going to be a session that you don't want to be a part of, just say no. So no, I can't do that today. Hey, can I come by? I wanted to share something with you that's going on. Nope, don't have time today. Just say no. The other thing is be less available. Listen, we got some family members, or maybe it's just me. We got some family members that, listen, I'm grafted to. I love them, but I can't be around them. You know what I mean? And so what is it that you can do to limit that time with them? Where you just, you're available, but you're not available all the time. Limit that time with that group. Also, be purposeful in spending time with positive people. Again, I'm going to harp on this and harp on this. When I get around certain people, when I get around Heidi, when I get around Vince, when I get around Andrew, when I get around Hunter, when I get around certain people, I leave there and I'm like, they better not have that door closed because I'll run right through that glass. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Those people that just make me so excited about life in general. Spend more time with those positive people, and I promise you can get those. And choose your 5 wisely. We all heard we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? Well, who is it that you're choosing? Because it is a choice. You are allowing those people to be in your life. Choose your 5 wisely. So as we look at that, and we've got those, the other thing that she said is you have to control your environment. What is it that you can do to control the environment? And as we were coming up there, she said it's not a matter of whether extreme conditions are going to come to this vineyard. It's whether they will be prepared to handle whatever comes. How many of you have realized over the last few years, and maybe it's just me because I've been through a few of these things now, that seasons do change. Times change. There will be storms that will come. So how do you prepare for those things? She showed us this as we were there. I thought it was just, we were in California. I just thought, well, they just got this, power thing going on with this windmill. It was not that at all. What this windmill was for is that they told us if you have too much rain in the vineyard, it sucks all of that up and it makes grapes that have too much sugar, and it doesn't make good wine. And then also, if it doesn't get enough water and it's too dry, the grapes are too acidic and it does not make good wine. So what they did is they set this windmill up because if it rains too much, they turn that turbine on and it dries the entire vineyard out within an hour. Also, if they don't get any rain, they have these drip systems that add water as needed to make sure that they're prepared for whatever may come. So what is it you're doing to prepare for whatever may come? It's not a matter of if, it's when will those storms come. And also, what I found in my life is that without roots, without storms, roots don't develop. I have to tell you, these last few years when it was easy, we developed a lot of lazy, bad habits. All of us, right? All of us. So from that standpoint, what you do during the storms is it's creating roots that give you the ability to grow even bigger in the times when things get better again. I was in the Walt Disney World College program. I got my doctorate degree, if y'all didn't know that. And basically what it is, I spent a semester at Walt Disney World. And as we went through our training, they took us over to Epcot Center. And they drove us through, this little planet Earth. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Maybe they used to have it in Epcot, where it was basically an agricultural testing ground. And one of the areas that they went through was this area they called aquaculture or something, where they had these plants that were just hanging, and they weren't in roots. I mean, they weren't in the ground, and they were just dripping water on it, and they were producing vegetables and fruits from these that didn't have roots down in the ground. And they told us the story, though, that when they first started doing this, what happened is that they would hang it there, they would give it water, they would give it light, and it would produce fruit, but it was very small fruit. And they found that the reason why is because the roots never developed. So what they began to do was they began to simulate storms. And they would have lights that would flash like lightning. They would have the sounds of thunder. They would rotate the amount of water that was coming down like it would in a storm. And they would have wind blowing through as these storms came through. And the wind did a couple things. The wind would knock off some of the things that were maybe close to dying on the plant so that then the nutrients could go to the best. But what it also did is it took the roots, and because of these perceived storms, the roots grew stronger and bigger. And because of those stronger and deeper and better roots, all of a sudden what happened is the fruit got better. And so what they found was that without storms, at least even simulated storms, you can't be all that plant is supposed to be. And it's the same way in our lives. If you understand the fact that these storms that come, and have we not all had them? Is it just me? We've all had these storms that come. And in reality, when we come through those storms, if you do it right, and every single time I've come through stronger than I was before. Now, think about this also. Every single one of you that are in here, the reason you're here is because every storm that's come, you're friggin' undefeated. Think about that. You're undefeated. Everything this life has thrown at you, family problems, health problems, financial problems, everything that this life has thrown at you, you've overcome it. So this market we're in right now, y'all, this ain't nothing. You're undefeated. Why are we even sweating this? What we're doing now is we're developing these roots that give us the ability that not if, but when this thing takes back off, we're going to be in a better position than we were before. So what are some of these things? And this is the time for some truth, okay? Because listen, we talk about this. Life happens. I'm in the middle of some stuff right now that I can't even imagine. Seasons always change, y'all. Seasons always change. They change for the better, and they change through difficulty. There's times that are tougher, there's times that are easier. But where you are right now, I promise you, is probably not where you're going to be a year from now. So what can we do to develop our root system that we can handle those changes and take full advantage of them? So here's some practical ways to control your environment. Reduce your debt. Now listen, I'm going to get super practical here. If you are carrying too much debt, it begins to, especially when the market turns, it gives you in a position, because I'm speaking from experience, not from what I'm theory. Here's what happens is now you begin to have to play defense instead of offense. And listen, everybody in this place, y'all are offensive players. You're not defensive players. Just like what Vince just said. Growing a company, and he and I are on the same page here, is not about reducing costs and savings. It's about building more income to offset those expenses. So what is it that you can do? Develop and reduce that debt. Also, increase your cash savings. There will be opportunities. And listen, if you're not in a position to take advantage of them now, opportunities come every single day. But there are seasons where there are better opportunities than there were. My opinion, y'all, we're getting ready to have some opportunities for those that are prepared. Increase your cash, reduce your debt, and you're going to be able to do that. Time block your schedule. Your prospecting, your follow-up of your past clients, your sphere of influence, that should be in ink, not in pencil. That should be every single day that you're going to add value to the people that are most important. They're going to help move your schedule forward. And then again, I'm going to say it again and again. Choose your five wisely. Who is it that you're choosing to spend time with? Because that is who is going to set the tone for the rest of your career. And then she said, you have to prepare for the harvest. Because you have to understand, listen, guys, the harvest comes, and sometimes it comes earlier, sometimes it comes later. But when it comes, you got a window. You got a window to take advantage of it. So you have to be prepared. If they pick the grapes too early, they're not as good and they're not ripe. If they wait too long, they're spoiled and they can't produce the wine. So what can you do to be prepared? What they do is obviously they've got a team ready to harvest before the harvest ever gets there. They've got them in place. They've got the things in place so that when the harvest opportunity comes, they take full advantage of it and they don't miss a single opportunity to harvest those grapes. So here's a couple things. You can't maximize your harvest without the help of others. Deion Sanders said it this way. You know, I'm a Florida State guy. Deion Sanders said it this way in his Hall of Fame speech. He said, if your dream is only about you, it's not big enough. Who is it that's supposed to go with you along the path? Who is it that's supposed to be a part of your team? Who are you preparing in a way that helps them and then ultimately helps you have that full harvest that you have? So here's a couple of practical ways to be prepared. Checklists and systems. Now we've got an opportunity right now. Listen, we're coming off a record market. What is it that you wish you would have had in place so that you could have taken full advantage of that then that you can do right now? Checklist. Every single thing that you do in your business more than twice, you should have a checklist. And it's not just for you. This is so that you can plug somebody else into your system and can help you along the way as well. So putting those checklists and systems in place. Also, build vendor relationships. Also, assistants, transaction coordinators. After the sale, client follow-up plans. Putting these systems in place prepares you for the harvest, not if, but when this thing begins to take off again. And then one of the things that she said is after the harvest, every single year, guess what happens? They prune. Now, whether it's the best year they've ever had or whether it's been a difficult year, they prune. Every fiber of our being sometimes wants us to say, well, this is so good, I don't need to cut back, I don't need to do something different. But here's what pruning does, is it gives room for new growth. So what are the areas of your business that need to be pruned? Of your life in general, what is it that needs to be pruned? Because that's what's going to generate the opportunities for you to have the ability to have that new growth we're looking for. I grew up in Florida. My kids are fifth-generation Floridians. We did this thing we called How to Do Florida. We took our kids on this trip around the state. We started in Jacksonville. We rode down I-95. We woke up that next morning. We were in the Everglades. We didn't realize it. We had no agenda. I said, well, we're in the Everglades. What are we going to do? We're going to go ride the airboats and see the Everglades. And then we got done, and they were like, oh, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. What are we going to do? Oh, we'll go with the Keys. And we went down there, and we saw all of the Florida Keys. And then we got done with that, and we're like, well, kids, where do you want to go? We drove up, and we went to West Palm Beach. Then we came across Alligator Alley, and we went because I wanted my kids to pick oranges. They're from Florida. You got to pick oranges, right? So we did that. Here's what was cool is we pull up to this little You Pick Orange place, this little farm. And they got this little barn, and this older guy comes out there. And, you know, I'm the inquisitive guy. I'm like, so how long have you owned this farm? He said, oh, I've owned it my whole life. He said, you know, I was a school teacher. This is my family's place. And I've owned this place pretty much my whole life. And he gave us a little bucket, and he said, you know, you can fill that up. It'll be $20 or whatever it was for as many oranges as you can get in there. And so we took a ladder, and we went out there. As we were out there, I noticed there were two different rows almost side by side. There were the rows that had oranges falling to the ground with oranges, producing so much fruit. And then right beside it, there were these dead trees. So we came back in. I said, hey, I'm just curious. What happened? Did you have some kind of an outbreak on those dead trees? And he said, no, you got to understand. I was a school teacher. I needed the income from this farm to be able to send my kids to college. And he said, so there was a year where I had someone come out, and he said to me, he said, hey, just so you know, you need to prune these trees back. And he said, but I can't do that right now. I can't prune back now. If I do that, I'm going to lose the opportunity for my kids to go to school and pay for this. And he said, so this is what you're looking at right here. I decided, this is him speaking, that I couldn't prune them all back, but I was going to prune half of them back. And he said, guess which ones are bearing fruit right now? Those ones he pruned back even when it was difficult. Those ones that he did not prune back and he just let run wild, they're now dead and they don't have any opportunity to produce fruit. So I just want to encourage you. What is it in your life? Some of it may even be difficult. What is it that you need to prune out of your life to prepare for the new growth that's ahead? I believe with all my heart that our future is brighter than our past. As long as we prepare and as long as we're willing to do the tough stuff now, later on it's going to get a lot easier. Think about what it is that you need to prune. So here's some practical ways to prune wisely, okay? Eliminate all of your unneeded expenses. Go through and look at the credit cards. Go through and look at the expenses you have in your business. Is it valuable, or are you just doing it because you've always done it? Get rid of all those unneeded expenses. Take inventory of your past 3 years' worth of transactions. I would encourage you, make a list of all of your transactions over the last 3 years. Out to the right of that, write the genesis of where that lead came from. Was it a referral? Was it an open house? Was it geographical farming? Was it someone that was in your sphere of influence? Write those down. Go back and look, and what's the percentage of where those sales came from? Because here's what will happen is, all of a sudden you'll begin to see patterns, not only the good patterns, but the bad patterns. When we've done this with a lot of agents, they're like, well, gosh, I'm spending all this money on these online leads, but I only generated 7% of my transactions from online leads, and I'm following up with them for an hour every day. Well, why do we keep doing this? What is it that you do in your business? And when you begin to focus on those things that have done well for you in the past, and you enhance those and you get rid of some of the others, everything else is going to get better. Again, choose your 5 wisely. And we'll say it over and over and over again. Choose your 5 wisely because that's the most important thing you can do. You will drift towards that group. Last but not least, he says, fine wine takes time. here's the thing about this business is, the business that you have today is not going to be the business that you will have in the future, better or worse. So whatever it is that you do, that you have the opportunity to invest in your business now, that's what you'll see. It's one thing about harvesting. It's one thing about putting the wine up, but it's the patience and the understanding of trusting the process that makes great wine. So as we ended up, we were in there and they were showing us these barrels, and they had them broken down by different years that they had put those things up. And what they told us is that over time, wine gets better. And for me, what I found is, when I do it right on the front end, it gets better over time. Man, I'm more excited about life than I've ever been. I'm more excited about my family. It's a different relationship with a 25-year-old daughter than it was with a 5-year-old daughter. It's a different relationship with my 16-year-old son now than it was when he was 5. It's a different relationship with my wife now than it was when we first got married. You see, when you invest in things and you follow the pattern and you trust the process and you understand that time's going to pass either way, why not invest it in a way that gives you a dividend in the future, that all of a sudden now everything begins to get better. So if you've ever heard this is really trusting the process. Have you all ever heard of this rule of 5 from John Maxwell? Here's what the rule of 5 says, and this is one of those that it is so powerful when you understand this. The rule of 5 says this. John Maxwell says that if you have a tree in your backyard, if every morning you wake up and you go outside and you grab an axe and you hit that tree 5 times and you put that axe down and you go back inside, and the next day you come out and you hit that tree 5 times and you put that axe down, and you do it day after day after day, guess what's going to happen? Sooner or later to that tree, it's going to fall down. Now, some trees are bigger and it takes longer. Some trees are smaller, they're going to fall fast. But if you understand, what are those 5 in your business? What is it that on a daily basis you should do that's going to help you grow your business? Following up with your past clients, whatever it is for you, social media, video, whatever it is for you, your 5, every single day you should be touching those 5 things. And if you do, it's not a matter of if, but it's when do you have that business of your dreams. So trust that process. We've all really been prepared for the next couple of days. I played college golf in college. I went on a scholarship to play golf. And one of the things was, and my roommate was an All-American. I was not. I've always been the guy that is going to outwork everybody, and I'm going to learn more than I can than anybody else, and I'm going to be more prepared. And so I was going to get everything I could out of this. I had this English professor came in and they said, we need you to do a paper on an inanimate object. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it on the golf ball because, maybe I can get a little bit of an edge on everybody as I do that. And so as I began to study the golf ball, here's the story. It started back in Scotland, and when they started playing the game, it was a round cylinder, perfectly smooth ball that they played with. And as they began to play with this, they would hit that ball. And what they found is that actually some of the better players would keep the balls after they got nicked. They would have these little cuts in them, these abrasions, these imperfections. And they began to wonder, well, why do these better players play with that? And what they found is that because of the imperfections, what actually happened is that round, perfectly round ball, when it would hit the headwinds, it did not have anything that would break that apart. The abrasions, those imperfections, what they actually did is that they helped it break through those headwinds and travel further. So, if you see a golf ball now, the dimples that you see on it is because there's 0 perfection on that golf ball. Every single square inch of that golf ball is made with imperfections to be able to break through the headwinds to be able to travel further than they've ever traveled before. Now, as I was doing that, and a few years ago I had this understanding, everything I've ever been through in my entire life, every single thing where I had a letdown, every wound that I've got, every single thing that's happened that bruised me, that left me with imperfections, was actually the very thing that was going to help me go further once I got through it. I want you to think about this. Every single one of us have been through something. Every single one of us. Is it not amazing that those very things that at the time we thought were the worst things that could happen to us are the very things that help us break through the headwinds and be better than we've ever been? Guys, the next couple of days, everything is set the table for you to be here right now, at this place, at this time, to prepare you to have the best year of your life. So what is it for you? There's a couple things. Somebody's going to leave here with a trajectory of their business that's been changed forever. And why not you? Why isn't that you? Why don't you be the person that leans in and talks to more people, builds more relationships, takes better notes, prepares yourself, and goes back and actually executes on those things? And let me just say this. Yeah, oh, this is my Alan Dalton move. Alan, I saw Alan do this one time. I thought it was so cool. Let me say this. This is Odin. Somebody's going to have their best year ever in this next year. Why not you? Now, let me ask you this. Listen, somebody's going to have their best business year, but somebody's going to be the best husband or wife they've ever been. Somebody's going to be the best parent they've ever been, the best son or daughter they've ever been. Somebody's going to be the best friend they've ever been. And somebody is going to walk out of here 2 days from now changed for the rest of their lives. Why not you? Why not this be the time? Why not this be the moment when everything changes for you, that you look back on and you say, you know what? Back in 2023 in Omaha, Nebraska, things changed for me. You are in the room where it happens. Take advantage of it. Thank y'all.